Welcome into our KPRC 2 Plus podcast. Chancellor Johnson joined by ESPN's DJ Bieniemy, beat writer for the Texans. Welcome back to the podcast, DJ.
It's been a while. Obviously, when we first got on this, there's a lot more optimism. Now we're all suffering as the Texans are 1-10-1. Because, a lot of people don't realize that when the team is bad, media members are also suffering from that too. Like
100%.
me, I gotta go there. I gotta go there often throughout the week. So I gotta talk to players. Granted, players, they're the ones that gotta take the brunt of it. Like they're the ones that going out there and they losing these games. But I gotta go in there. I gotta ask them questions about losing these games.
Yep.
Coaches asking them. That's how things can get testy. Like how Lovey got testy in Miami. How he got testy after the Washington game. Because this stuff's hard. Across the board when you're covering a team that's bad. They were expected not to be good, but when they're bad and they weren't expected to be good, they're also expected to be bad, but they're even worse than that. That's horrific because now they're just boring. If a team is bad, it's okay from media perspective.
Sure.
If they were expected to be good, like the Raiders, that'd have been cool because they were expected to be good.
So there's a storyline there.
Yeah,
right.
Cardinals, you know what I'm saying? Let's say if Miami would have been bad this year, that would have been great because that is all right. There's storylines to go with that.
And on top of that, talking about those teams, whether it is the Cardinals or the Raiders, they also have guys who people want to talk about, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's Devontae Adams with the Raiders or Derek Carr or Max Crosby. They have players.
Right.
Cardinals, Kyler Murray is a storyline on a
Right.
national level. DeAndre
Right.
Hopkins coming back from suspension.
Right. J.J.
Cliff
Watt.
Kingsbury. Right. They have a number of players.
Yeah.
The Texans.
All we got is Damian Pierce and Brandon Cooks when he wanted out.
When he wanted out. Now, of course, Laramie Tunsil was one of the best players
In the league.
at his position
in the league,
in the league. But when you're an offensive lineman on a bad team, it doesn't move the needle. Now, if you're a great offensive lineman on a great team, now it's even more hyped up. For example,
Right.
David Bakhtiari
Right.
with that Packers team, a couple
Right.
years ago when they were going to NFC championships, he mattered because he was a key piece to what the offense and Aaron Rodgers were doing. But when you're Laramie Tunsil on a bad team that technically the offensive line as a whole is failing to protect Davis Mills at times, whether or not you're holding up your end of the bargain, people just don't care. It's pretty unfortunate.
Yeah, man. This season has been, I don't use the word wake-up call. I wouldn't say that, but it's been interesting to watch. Because the Jets, everybody know I covered the Jets last year, and they weren't good. They went 4-13. They had one of the worst point differentials. But, and by the end of the year, everybody was kind of exhausted or whatever. But they, had storylines, right? You still had the number 2 overall pick. Mm-hmm. You had a guy coming on towards the end, and Elijah Moore. You had a running back that was in Michael Carter who, almost had 1,000 yards from scrimmage before he got hurt. There were storylines that they had 2 first-round picks going into the next season. So there were things that you could look forward to. And you could look forward to some things also with Texans, but, a lot of those things that you want to look forward to, they don't even exist right now. The first-round picks, that ain't until 2023. We're still in 2022. Mm-hmm. With the next quarterback that's going to be here, that's, again, that's further down the line. You know what I'm saying? So, right now, everybody's just kind of in cruise control because this team is going to look vastly different next year because a lot of guys are on basically one-year deals, So, this team will look vastly different next year.
So, with that being said, we're 12 weeks in. This team is 1-10-1.
Right.
What's wrong with them? I
think the biggest issue, obviously, I think Ray Charles could have seen this is the offense, right? It's just been bad, and I don't think it's, a lack of talent. And to be honest, I think it's a combination of inconsistent and bad timing quarterback play and game planner. It's almost like, and I was a fan of Pep Hamilton. I think he's just having a rough year because he had a good track record prior to the season, but last week against Miami, it's almost like they're always playing catch up and not being able to beat the team to the punch, and they're just always countering. And after a while, it's just hard to always be in defense mode and countering. It's something like in soccer where if a team's only playing defense the entire game, they're eventually gonna give up goals, and it's almost like that for their offense. It's almost like they're always in defense mode because they're rarely attacking. Because when they do try to attack, the other team is ready for it. They're never ever catching the team off balance. You know what I'm saying? So, and then even last week against the Browns, it was similar. It was similar to that. There were plays where that 4th down play, right? When he ran the play action to Troy Harris, right?
Harrison Troy.
Harrison Troy.
to get your breath, huh?
You have Brevin Jordan motioning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he runs a flat route. But you also have Troy Harris also. Not Troy Harris, but Harrison Troy running a flat route. So the guy that made the play, he was guarding Brevin.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. He was able to come off of Brevin to hit.
Spacing was terrible.
The spacing was horrible. You know what I'm saying? So it's little things like that kind of put the offense behind the 8 ball. And then there's all the other times throughout the year where guys just weren't making plays. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a Cooks fan. I think Cooks is way better than the production that he's putting out. But like,
he's had some drop balls.
He's had some drop passes. Like
even the Denver game. That was a winnable game.
That was a winnable game, and he had that drop. But then there's been times where Mills or Kyle would just completely miss him. You know what I'm saying? Or like Davis Mills would just throw interceptions at horrible times, like against Denver where you have the red zone interception, or against the Giants where you're marching down and you throw an interception to Philip Dorsett. And then it wasn't even like a bad decision. It was the fact that like he looked off right, then he looked left, stared at it, then threw it, which gave the safety over the top enough time to come and make the play on the ball. You know what I'm saying? It's just little things like that throughout the year, because you know how hard it is to be a bad offense when you have a running back that almost at 1,000 yards. But with 5 games to go, like Dameon Pierce could finish with 1,200 yards, and you're going to have a bottom 3 offense. Like that is hard to do because if you have a good running game, everything kind of flows
everything else up.
Exactly, and like that just hasn't happened throughout the year.
So a lot of the conversation throughout the season has been on, is it bad QB play from Davis Mills? Then there were people, including myself, who thought maybe the Texans should give Kyle Allen a look, just in the sense of maybe he can just bring more to the Texans offense in that moment. We gave him a look, and he hasn't done anything with it, right? But how much of the offensive struggles and the blame goes on the quarterback play versus Pep Hamilton and his schemes and play calling?
I probably like 50-50. Yeah, Pep's had a rough year, man. Like, there's no way to shake it, just from like the past game standpoint. Like, there's a few games where he was good. Like the Colts game, he was good. The Raiders game, he was good. I think the Giants game, he was solid. You know what I'm saying? But there's just games where he's just like horrific. Like Titans game where you only have 3 points going down the stretch. And I'm a big players over coaches guy, but you still need coaches to put the players in the right position. And he just hasn't done that enough. And then the quarterback play, I mean, like the Texans lead the league and quarterbacks lead the league in interceptions with 15. Like, you're just not going to win that many games with that. They're completing, Davis and Kyle combined, completing 61% of their passes. That is 4th lowest in the NFL. Total QBR, ESPN stat. They're like scale 1 to 100. 50 is average. Really good is like 70-something, 80. 80 is like you're phenomenal. You know what I'm saying? 70-something is like really good, like elite. They're at 22, which is like 31st in the NFL, ahead of, I think, the Carolina Panthers, who's trotted out P.J. Walker, Baker Mayfield, and Sam Darnold. So, like, it's been rough, across the board. When you just can't win the NFL if you got bad quarterback play, and they've had that. That's why, like, when people try to discuss, maybe, skip a quarterback, skip the quarterback and go get some. Nah, bro. There's no point. And like, okay, we're going to go and get like, bet BPA and skip quarterback and try to get another quarterback the next year. We always say like the next quarterback draft class is going to be better. We always say that. Like, people try to say the 2021 class was going to be better than the 2020 class. And the 2020 class has 4 franchise quarterbacks. And people said that 21 class could have 5 first-round picks was going to be better.
Where they at?
And exactly. Mac Jones has more interceptions than touchdowns. Zach Wilson just got benched. Trey Lance, granted, is out of his control, but he got hurt. You know what I'm saying? Justin Fields is showing flashes, but he still has work to do. Trevor Lawrence has shown flashes, but he's not better than any of the guys in the 2020 class. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is. Like finding a quarterback is a crapshoot. So
we'll get to draft in a moment, but before we get there, you still have to finish the season with a handful of games remaining. In case you missed it, breaking news: the Houston Texans have officially been eliminated from the playoffs with just 1 win.
Right.
What would you like to see from this team in general over the last few games of the year?
I mean, just better offense. Defense hasn't been great this year, but it's not the reason why they've lost games. I think the Dolphins game, defense gave up like 23 points in the first half. Like, it's hard to win like that, but they got right in the second half. Like, defensively, they've kept the team in most of the game. They, again, like last week against the Browns, like they didn't give up a touchdown. The Commanders, they gave up, I think, 17 points. Like, they've done their part for the most part. Like, if you had a average offense, this team would probably be like 4-7-1, 4. I mean,
a lot more respectable.
They'd be a lot more respectable. You wouldn't be talking about Lovie Smith getting fired after 1 year. But the offense has just been so bad, it's almost impossible to to win games when your offense is that bad. Like you see the Broncos, they got an excellent defense and they can't win games. Why? Because their offense stinks. You can't win in NFL if your offense can't put up points. I don't think the Texans have scored over 24 points in a single game this year.
I don't think so.
There you have it.
So all right,
so that's what I want to see. I want to see them put up points.
So with that being said, they do need talent. So I understand if we're looking ahead to April, I can understand why some people might believe, hey, listen, the Texans need talent, take the best player available. But I don't agree. Just go ahead. Besides, and it's not always about that. Obviously, you want to fill the best team possible.
Right.
But if you haven't, go get a ticket to a Texans home game.
Yeah.
I promise you, you'll have open seats next to you.
I'm telling you.
There's no
empty. There's no buzz.
There's no buzz. And on top of that, and that is important. That's very important.
It's a business at the end of the day.
It's a business at the end of the day.
Not every team in the NFL is trying to win a championship. Like most teams, they're cool with can we fill up the stands, have a competitive team, make the playoffs every year or every other year, and go from there. Like, not everybody's trying to be the Chiefs. Not everybody's trying to be the Rams. Not everybody's trying to be the Bills. Like, because you can't. There's only one trophy. Like, I know it might sound like a loser mentality, but it's 32 teams. Only one team can win the championship. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is. If you can have a consistent team that, like, do you think Minnesota Viking fans are, like, really upset about their run with Kirk Cousins? I mean, they're probably cool because it's like, okay, each year we're in the hunt.
Right.
So
we're relevant.
We're relevant. We're somewhat relevant. And that's all you can ask for. And right now, this team is very irrelevant.
The other thing, too, that I don't think people have really stopped to consider is, Caserio should just draft best player available. Well, here's the thing. Caserio, there's no guarantee that Caserio can survive another year of this.
Okay, let's be honest. Like, there's a guarantee he won't survive it. I can tell you that right now. You feel me? I can tell you that. Like, let's be honest. Like, because people are like, just wait and try to go get Caleb Williams. For you to get Caleb Williams, you have to get number one pick again.
Yep.
Everybody will be gone.
The house will be
everybody will be gone. I think everybody might be gone. You, me, Nick Caserio, everybody.
So it's actually funny enough. It's in Caserio's best interest to draft a quarterback and say, hey, listen,
to buy time. Like, come on, bro.
To save his own behind, he might need to draft a quarterback.
Like,
so all things considered, as far as whether it's just building a good team, because right now their current option at quarterback, you're not getting that out of the quarterback play there. So you have that. You have not being able to put fans in the stands. And if you're Cal McNair, look, Cal McNair is very hands off already as it is. But like when he checks, his bank account and the sales ain't selling like they're supposed to, Nick, what's going on, my brother? Right. Talk to me. Right. And on top of that, Caserio, if in order for him to stick around for another year, you can sit here and say, well, listen, if I'm Nick Caserio, I came into a tough spot, and I actually I do recognize. I know, but I'm just saying, like I do recognize.
I've seen teams with worse.
But my point is, I do recognize that he did come in a tougher spot and a spot that most general managers don't come in as far as just a complete hot mess. But with that being said, last year they had a better team. So he was in charge of signing a lot of guys to this roster on these short 1-year deals. He was also in charge of hiring David Culley. Yeah. And what happened? He was out in 1 year. The team was a hot mess. So you say, you know what? As rough as you thought David Culley is, let me go find my second coach. And if we keep it all the way 100 on the show, we both know Lovie Smith wasn't his option number one.
It was either Josh McCown or the DC from the Eagles.
And with that being said, now, and look what the job that he's doing with the Eagles. But now he hired Lovie Smith, and whether that was his first option or not, that's what you're left with. And with the way he played his cards. And so there's a real possibility, and it's actually might be a strong possibility, that Lovie Smith is gone as well too. Do most GMs get a third coach? How many GMs get that?
Yeah. Man.
So if you're Nick Caserio, like he has no other option but to draft the best quarterback available. And on top of that, it's probably going to be Bryce Young, because if you really think about it, C.J. Stroud's agent is David Mulligetta.
Right.
Mulligetta and the Texans don't have the strongest relationship, as far as at least with Nick Caserio. Now you can say, well, does that matter? It does. Yeah. And So your only other option, like Casario's not going to draft Will Levis. Let's keep it about. He's not drafting Will Levis with the number 1 overall pick. I'll say that. He's not drafting Anthony Richardson with the number 1 overall pick. So that pretty much leaves you with Bryce Young. So Bryce Young, more than likely, you are a Houston Texan.
I think Will Levis has. I think out of those options, I think Will Levis has a shot. I think CJ could have a shot.
But at 1, you think Will Levis has a shot at 1?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to NFL scout, not NFL scout, but like league execs that feel like Will Levis could be better. And like he could be better than Bryce, if he just develops correctly, because he is a bigger, stronger athlete. He's played in a pro style offense. It's just that his film from his last year isn't good. But I mean, again, I've learned that most of us don't know, even like NFL scouts and NFL execs. Quarterback's the hardest position to figure out because you don't know how this guy can lead men. You don't know if he can really play under pressure. You don't know what his poise is like in an NFL environment. So I mean, but yeah, I'm good with Bryce. You know what I'm saying? I'm cool. That's a pick. Let's roll because that like Bryce would make them relevant. I mean, because again, I don't think the offensive pieces are as bad as people say. You have probably like a top 3 tackle duo. You got to improve the interior. You have a top 10 running back. You have
serviceable wide receivers. Nico Collins has turned into the best wide receiver on the team, and he's actually had a what I would consider a breakout season, even in the bad quarterback play there. But he's shown a number of flashes, I think if you get him a quarterback who can deliver the ball to him on time and accurately, and you have also a better scheme and have better play call that puts him in the best possible opportunities to make plays, which is the whole point of an offensive coordinator, then I think you could see that blossom even more. And then also by next year, what will he look like? We don't know, but John Mechie was supposed to come in and help out this offense a lot, coming in more likely at the slot position. Yeah. So you have options, and you also have a number of really talented wide receivers that you can go out. You can maybe even pair the two with maybe a quarterback and a wide receiver, a top-tier wide receiver with that Cleveland pick. So with that being said, we'll close out with this. If you are general manager Nick Caserio, Calvin McNair says, hey, Nick, I know you came in, and it is what it is, but right now you got 1 more year left. You have a lot of cap space, so the team will look a lot differently. They'll have more likely a new head coach, new offense coordinator, 2 more than likely top 15 draft picks.
Right.
Nick, what are you doing?
Yeah, I'm probably going to go quarterback without question. Yeah, I'm going to go quarterback. Gonna for sure improve my linebacking core because that's probably been like one of the bigger reasons for the run game issues. Probably gonna re-sign Owens because again the defense isn't that bad. You gotta show up the linebacker spot because it's pretty young. Like that's why I like the run gaps. They don't fill their run gaps with consistency. They've been better recently. And I think some of that also has to do with like flipping Jonathan Owens and Petrie because I think Owens is better at getting downhill and like filling the run game. But again, like the D line has been a little bit healthier, so I think it's a lot of aspects have aided into a better run defense and offensively improve the interior. Get like another center.
You have to get another center.
Yeah, you got to get another center. I mean, Jordan Akins has been pretty solid at tight end.
He has been.
Probably got to get another receiver because you're gonna lose Cooks. In all honesty, like it is what it is. You're gonna lose Cooks. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's not as bad as like the record would suggest. Like it's not like horrific. And you have the Browns' first round picks for a couple, like for 2023 and 2024. So like you're gonna be able to stockpile with blue chip guys. And like I would probably try to go get you, whatever the next coach is. Try to get a if it's going to be a defensive guy, make sure he brings along, like, let's say hypothetically they were to go and get, what's his face? The DC from the Eagles.
Or
the DC, let's say they go get the DC from the Eagles, right? Gannon, right? Bring over the Eagles quarterback coach. I think his name is BJ. Bring him over, make him the OC because he's done great work with Jalen.
Absolutely.
With Jalen Hurts, you know what I'm saying? Bring him in, you'll be able to work, you got your pair with the offensive coordinator, you got your defensive guy, or if you want to go offensive, whatever. Or if you want to get D'Amico Ryans, like I'm cool with that because D'Amico is gonna for sure bring that West Coast system, and that West Coast system is it's a very quarterback friendly operation. Mm-hmm. So, me personally, if I was D'Amico, I'd bring in Tony Oden, from the Jets, the defensive back coach, because he's done great work with a lot of DBs throughout his career. He'd be a really good DC in my opinion, because I'm big on your defense can only be as good as your secondary, no matter how good your front four is.
Which the secondary actually has been pretty solid.
Exactly.
Actually,
So,
might be their best.
It's probably
positions.
It's probably their best
position
unit on the entire team.
Yeah, because and didn't mean to cut you off, but I feel like we haven't really talked enough about Steve Nelson.
Steve Nelson pretty good.
He's been like really really solid for them. I'll just talk about Derek Stingley, and Stingley he's definitely had a solid rookie season, but over the past couple of weeks he's been hurt. So and we haven't really touched too much in the rookie class, but obviously Dameon Pierce. They hit a home run with that. Derek Stingley, Jr., although he's had a great season, it's hard not to look. And obviously, and I know they do two different things before
they do
you
two
get started.
different things.
But
you will get me started.
It is hard not to notice what Sauce is doing in New York. And then also Kenyon Green, he struggled. But then again, guards they struggle.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like, you read the reaction on social media, and it's like, oh, Kenyon Green stinks. Like, listen. Like, also look at the guys he had to go against. Like, welcome to the league, Rook.
Yeah, I know. Because he was fine at first.
Right, he was fine.
It was at the Tennessee game has sent him on a spiral because he was going against, like, Simmons. And then, it's been downhill since that. But, rookie wall.
Sure.
Listen, if Sauce was in Houston, he wouldn't be doing what he's doing in New York. Because, like,
and the buzz definitely wouldn't be the same either.
It wouldn't be the same, but again, like they asked the corners to do two totally different things, and he's on a better defense across the board. You know what I'm saying? Like he has a great D line that can get after quarterbacks. He has a great scheme. Now, Sauce is generational talent. I will also say that. But again,
it's a generational talent.
I mean.
The fact that you had to pause about that when the Texans had an option to get him is interesting.
But this is what I think. I think if you put Stingley in the Jets defense, he's having a very similar year to Sauce.
Sure.
Like I don't think that's me because I trust my eyes when it comes to cornerback play. I truly believe that because I believe in Tony Oden, the Jets defensive back coach, Jeff Ulbrich, the DC, and Saleh because one thing Saleh always does is develop cornerbacks because his scheme doesn't ask his cornerbacks to do too much. He basically say, is master a few kicks, so you can do those kicks whenever you want to, a million times, and it just happens fast because he wants the defense to always play fast. And again, Saleh is a great defensive mind, so that he had Bryce Hall looking like a decent cornerback, and now Bryce Hall finished with like 16 PBUs last year in that system.
Last thing for me, we'll make this one quick. They have 5 games left. Cowboys, Chiefs, they ain't winning that. But you've closed the year with 3 divisional opponents. Do the Texans get at least 2 wins on the year?
Do they finish with 2 more wins?
No, do they finish with? Do they get another win on the year at all? 1.
Oh yeah. I think they'll get another win because I think they'll get another win because it's just hard to win only 1 game an entire year. It's just hard.
It's also hard to lose a game by double digits while not scoring, while the other team does not score an offensive touchdown. But here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the question is, can he get to 3 wins?
Well, they're not going to get one if we're being honest. They're not getting one. Now, if they went into that, I can't even pretend.
They could beat the division. They could win 2 out of the 3 against.
They can't. I do think they can too because they are in some of these games, and even like the last game. If Deshaun, there was a lot of talk about Deshaun Watson. Watson didn't play well at all. Yeah, and if you have a competent offense, they win that game handily.
Yeah.
So we will see. DJ Bieniemy of ESPN. Thanks for joining us on the show.
No problem.